We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. To fight back, it's an all-out attack.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is Geordies here, Geordies there. Good evening to George, Mitch, Steve, to Kev, to Magnus, to Al-Walid, to Martin and to Stu, and good evening to you and all the moderators in the chat. A bit earlier than we'd originally planned. We're going to go 6 o'clock, but 5 o'clock makes more sense so you can go and get ready for the match, and the lads have got some serious drinking to do, namely Stu and Mitch. Lots to look ahead to tonight, though, and watching the coverage on Sky, George, I presume it's only Manchester United can compete in this game tonight and get to Europe. I mean, it seems as if it's Newcastle is almost like an afterthought, and it's Ten Hag's going to do this and do that, and he's going to have all the players available. And yeah, I mean, typical Sky bias for me, George. But listen, this is a huge game. Newcastle, got in the driving seat, and they win tonight, then it's game on, isn't it, George?
Well, of course it is. But you can have all the players he likes on. I still think we've got enough to beat them at Old Trafford. I don't think it'll be a big victory. I think it'll be a narrow squeak, but it'll be a victory in my view. I'm so confident about that. And the bias is sickening, isn't it? Well, aren't we used to it? Aren't we used to it? I mean, the kick with the death because we've got to take over. That's better than anything they'll ever have. The kick with the death because of Ashworth. We're kicking with the death for any excuse they like. But the fact is, they're a big club in decline, up to their neck in debt, and they can say what they like about that new owner. He isn't. The Glazers are still the owners and will be for a very long time yet. So, no, I think on the whole, provided it doesn't rain and have another deluge like they did the other night, I think we'll take them. I'm confident of it. And one thing the bias will do is surely make Eddie Howe's dressing room talk before the match a lot simpler. Because he's just got to say, look, they all think you're here for a kicking. Well, go and do it to them. It's the easiest team talk in the world, I think. So, and I'm looking forward to it. I think there's lots of positives. There's lots of good things. to come out of it, and I'll be interested to see what our team is. Never mind what their team is, but I'm still convinced wherever our team is, it'll be too good for them. And hope above hope that Casemiro's at centre back again, because if he is and Isaac's playing well, we'll have a field day. Because Casemiro's legs have gone, no doubt about that. Anybody watching that the other night could see that even me with my stick could probably give him a hard game. So, yeah, looking forward to it, confident that we'll get more than something out of it. And why not? I think Eddie Howe and the team have earned where they are at this stuff, very, in very difficult circumstances. And deserve everything they get out of it. So, and so do the fans. I mean, there's no question about that. So I'm positive. I'm positive that we'll get a result, and it'll be a positive result.
Yeah, Mitch, the bias on the TV today has been ridiculous. You literally would think it's only, it's only Manchester United and Chelsea. It's forget about Newcastle. They're not going to do it. I mean, we shouldn't expect anything less, really, should we, than this?
It's one of those days where I'm grateful that I missed some of this because of being out of the country, getting different media feeds. I've also had a hell of a busy day dealing with lots of lovely patients, but surrounded by fuckwits in other ways. So I've been otherwise distracted for a lot of the day-to-day. And I'm pretty glad I have been, by the sounds of it, because otherwise I'd have been putting my blood pressure up. Look, Man United have shown and demonstrated very well during the whole quote-unquote takeover saga and subsequent buy-in of Ratcliffe that they still have an ability to get a media machine behind them and putting their picture as the only and right picture and generating certain stories in the press that are always at their positive slant. That will change in time as Ratcliffe gets found out and as other things get found out. I gather the rain tonight's not going to be too much of a worry for our fans, at least, because I gather we've been placed in the shallow end, so that should be okay this evening. But yeah, I mean, it's just typical of Man United, really, what they're doing at the minute and what they're getting away with. I've seen nothing from that team that frightens me in any way, shape or form over the last 2 or 3 months. My advice to the players would be, do not show them any level of respect. Get into them from the first minute. They're a faded giant. They're has-beens. We are the up-and-coming. Get into them and let them know we're there. And as for Casemiro, for a professional footballer who has the ability to make me look like Weight Watcher of the Year, I've never seen anything like it. Really, I mean, I've genuinely never seen anything like it. The guy, it's not just his legs are gone. I think just about everything from his digestive system to his brain have packed up. And I hope beyond hope he is at centre back tonight, because I'm going to enjoy him watching, chasing shadows and eating dust.
Steve, Manchester United at Old Trafford, it's always an exciting fixture, but we go into this game with a chance of doing the double over them, with a chance of going to Manchester United and playing Manchester United 3 times this season and not conceding a goal, and also finishing above them in the Premier League. I mean, it's a case of how Newcastle have risen, I think, at a time when Manchester United have fallen from grace.
Absolutely, Steve, and it's amazing, isn't it? We're actually on a panel tonight of, well, we had 9, but we're back down to 8 again. But we've still got more people on the panel than Newcastle have on the injuries front in the treatment room, which is amazing, isn't it? All this season they've completely outstripped us. But yeah, you're right. It's always an occasion. It's always an important game. It's one of those special fixtures when you play Man United, and when you're going in to play them when you're in a little bit of form and they're not, it just adds to the occasion, I suppose. That's the best way to put it. I'm like the lads, and I'm sure like the rest of the panel, and we're going into this with the confidence, but I am a little bit hesitant because what we saw on Saturday was too many players having an off day, too much going on. I think there was a lot of hype about Saturday's game that some of us fell into, and I think the atmosphere before was absolutely fantastic. But once they scored, we found it very, very difficult to get a little bit of momentum. And then in the second half, the game kind of fizzled out, I thought. It had 1-1 written all over it. We just need to have that mental aptitude, if you like, to go into this game all fully focused. And when the good thing about Newcastle United at the moment is when all 11 are fully focused, then we are almost unplayable for an awful lot of teams. And I think we'll have too much for Manchester United tonight if we can go in with the right mindset. A lot of it also depends, obviously, on whether we've got Isak and Wilson available, whether Eddie's playing mind games or not. But certainly Isak didn't look himself on Saturday. He looked half a yard off the pace, and I think after he went off, I thought we were a little bit too hurried. There was a little bit of over enthusiasm, if you like. We sort of over elaborated at times, and we need to get out that out of our system, because when we play quick 1-2s and we play with how do you describe it? It's the best word to use. I'm struggling here, but when we go into a game and when we play like our natural game, when we don't think about and challenge our mind, I think we play far, far better. And I think just that little split second of waiting for whether it's a Miguel Almiron, an Anthony Gordon, a Harvey Barnes, that split second can make a difference to their finishing. But it's all geared up for an exciting evening.
It certainly is. Kev, yeah, these are big games, and it's great to be involved in this kind of thing at the end of the season, isn't it? I mean, certainly better than being involved in a relegation battle, that's for certain.
And that's what you play football for. You to play against the top and the best and push for a European spot. And agree with Mitch in terms of if we get into them early with an intensity and a nastiness about us, and then to jump onto the back of Steve and then play out a natural game and play simplistic football, I think we'll just absolutely blow them literally out the water in terms of the way we play. I just don't, because they're very methodical, low block, play counter-attack, and somehow, again, the typical Man United of getting a last-minute winner, or how, the Fergie time scenario from back in the day, they seem to still pull that out the bag every once in a while. But, yeah, I think if again, thankfully, I'm outside of the bubble. I don't even watch pre-match coverages anymore. I don't even bother when we're involved because it's always the same narrative with a big club of Man United or a Liverpool or an Arsenal, because it's just waxing lyrical about them and said, we're just there for the party piece to show up. We're not there for the main event. We're just there to be a participant. So, it's the same old. So I'll just put it on right at 3 o'clock my time, and then just watch the game. But I think if we have the intensity, especially in and around that back four midfield area, whoever plays in there for them, again, I hope Casemiro plays, and I think if Johnny Evans plays, I think I can run quicker than him at 39. I think anybody can on this panel. So it's going to be very interesting in terms of our setup and how we go about it. It's all about our mentality, which I've said for weeks and months. We know what Man United are going to pose. It doesn't matter who they play. It's going to be the same way. But it's all on us tonight. It's all about us going there and actually going doing the triple on them, and finishing above them and create a bit of history and absolutely cement our place in European football next season, and go and do it with a confidence and a demeanour where we're here to stay and we're not going anywhere. And I think that's what the approach has to be.
Okay. Magnus, good evening. We'll get you before you disappear again. Internet problems, I think, again for you. But huge game this tonight, isn't it, against Manchester United? And just wonderful that we're going into it with the upper hand, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we have a big history with this club, and I like nothing more than to beat them. Once again, we have now won 3 in a row since the final of the Carabao Cup, and they completely annoy me. I mean, we used to be their trash can where they just threw us a bone with guys like Obertan and very uninteresting sort of rejects of theirs. I think we have the upper hand. I mean, the ratings are saying that, and when we look at the possibilities of both Joelinton and Trippier coming back, maybe even Schär, then I'm really not all that worried about this game. theater of streams. Why don't we make it the theater of our European dreams and just really take the game to them? And I want to see the team go right on the front foot and sort of in their face because Casemiro and Johnny Evans are they have no pace to resist the likes of Gordon, Barnes, and Isak. So I really want to start the game on the front foot and see where it takes us. If we get Nick Pope back as well, I mean, I know we need to be careful with these things. Some of these guys may be going to the European and whatever international duties they have. So I'm not sure if we will take too many risks, but on the other hand, I think we have the quality to beat them, and it feels like we should.
Al-Walid, big game tonight, mate, and it's Manchester United who we visit. They've got all kinds of problems. The references to the water, of course, the Niagara Falls at the Old Trafford ground at the weekend. Quite funny. Lots of jokes flying around on our social media. But good to see that Newcastle are in the driving seat and potentially could be, one step further towards Europe tonight.
Hopefully these falls continue tonight. It's maybe I can call it Dan Ashworth Derby tonight. And we weren't lucky this season, but look, we are in the top 6 for the second season a row. This is a very great sign for Newcastle. And if you see the teams like Aston Villa, we beat them twice. We beat all the teams, maybe except City in the Premier League, and we were close to beat Liverpool also this season. So we have still big chance to be in the 5th. And if you remember, Steve, in the mid of the season, we expect, all of us, we expect where Newcastle will end this season. We all say like in the 5th or the 6th position, and this is what happened now. Going to European champion with all circumstances this season. I think this is a great achievement, and hopefully we will, of course, we will learn from this season. We will do better for next season, and with a lot of sponsors and knowing our mistakes. So I'm very excited for the coming days. Hopefully we end this season with 2 wins against Brentford and Manchester. And how are the lads?
Yeah, how are the lads indeed, Martin? This is it's always a showcase game. I always look for Manchester United. It's probably mainly to do with the whole 1990s, entertainers battle when we were battling with them for the league. But there's always an added spice, isn't there, for these games?
Yeah, I think that's always been there. It was always a game, when I was living back home, I always enjoyed to try and get to either home and away, even though, 9 times out of 10 you took a batter and you had the few good wins in between it. I was in St James's for the 5-0 night. So they were few and far between, but I think, as Mitch said, that tide is turning. We're the ones now who are in the ascendancy, and they're kind of getting the reverse. Magnus made a good point. We've not lost in the last 3 to them, 1 in the cup and 2 in the league. So I'm expecting them to be a little bit better than they were against Palace, because I think there's probably a little bit of vengeance that they want to come back with. But I think the problem they've got is they just don't have the team tonight, I think, that will be able to compete with us. Looking at a few of the sites, a lot of sites are starting with Evans and Casemiro in that back 4. I think if they do that, and that is their starting back 4, along with Wan-Bissaka and Delort, I think they've chanced to already have lost the game before they turn out. Their midfield's going to be another problem. It looks like Fernandes is injured, who really is the orchestrator of, that middle for them to create those chances. I do like the young lad. I do like Garnacho. I think he's a really good player. And Højlund is a good striker, but the problem is they're not servicing Højlund. So, the last 4 games they've not registered a goal against us. So I think, you've only got to look at the way they played against Palace when the first goal went in. Steve made a good point. The heads went down. So I think, like a lot of the panel have said, I think it's really key for us that we start fast and we go at them. I think defensively, from our own side, I'd probably put Trippier in there against Garnacho as opposed to Livramento, just to sturdy that side up a little bit, because I think he does cause a threat and he does like to dangle a leg in the box and go over. And I think, especially at Old Trafford, they tend to get the decisions, as Kev said. They do get these odd decisions in the last minute of games and penalties, and the VAR on their side at times. So I think we just need to watch out for those. But I think George really makes the point. I don't think we've got nothing to fear going down there. And I think if we play our game and not get wrapped up in what they're trying to do and the TV and the nonsense beforehand, then I think we can turn them over well. But we've got to defend as well, because they will get chances at some point. But again, it's no good playing a decent striker up front if you're not going to service them. And I think the difference for us, depending on who we start with, whether it's Isak, I mean, I would like to see Gordon, Isak and Barnes start. I don't know whether he will, but I think that will be a great front three to go with, because I think if it's up against that back four, we cause them nothing but problems with that. I'd bring Joe Linton back into the midfield as well. Probably with him, Bruno and Longstaff, I would probably run with to begin with. If he's back, do you bring Pope back or Dubravka? Kind of like Magnus, do you need to run that risk? I don't know if we need to. I'd probably be tempted to leave Dubravka in. And the only change I'd make to that back four is I'd just bring Trippier in. I think if we do that, we'll be fairly solid. So I'm expecting a good game. I think, again, like George, I don't think it'll be a landslide. It won't be a 3 or 4-0. I think it'll be close. It'll be 2-1. It'll be an odd goal in it, I think. But it should be a good game. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Stu, it's all or nothing tonight. It's a roll of the dice, and of course, we'll have one eye on the Chelsea-Brighton game as well, or should I say Brighton-Chelsea?
I don't think so. We know what we've got to do, and I'd rather be in our position than Man United's or Brighton's. We win our games, and that's it. And with only 2 games to go, we're in the box seat. And to be honest, Steve, this is the most confident I've been of Newcastle United going to Old Trafford since we played Sheffield United in the semi-final. And that was in the last century. So that tells you the confidence I've got. They need to win. The pressure's on them. We don't need to win. So any chance of them finishing above us means that they have to come out and start pushing us, which will play straight in our hands. As long as we're compact and have a well-drilled defence, which I'm sure we will have, there'll be acres of space for our jet-heel forward line to exploit. And I think we'll pick them off at ease and batter them into submission. And I really hope that they have Rashford playing. I hope Fernandes plays. I hope it pisses down and he becomes a drowned rat. And they've got no excuses. And I honestly think that they're not playing for their club. They're not playing for each other. There's so much disharmony there. They're the polar opposite of what we are at the moment. And now we know what we need to do. There's no... We're going to want to finish 6. We don't even have to win both games. We're surmising that Chelsea will win at Brighton. We're surmising that Chelsea win their last game. Doesn't matter. We will not get beat tonight, and I'm really confident about a convincing victory. I think the game is set up for Newcastle United's style of play, where we can sit a bit compact and break with pace. And as long as they're clinical, as long as they're precise, and as long as they play with intent, I can't see us getting beat at all. I really can't.
Okay, I guess just want to go around the board, lads, quite quickly. Martin's brought up the subject of Nick Pope, so let's see whether you would do it tonight, Martin. You said would you go with Pope or Dubravka? I'll come to you first because you just brought it up. Would you leave Dubravka in? We've only got 2 games left, of course. Or would you, if Pope's 100% fit, would you start him tonight?
I think it's a real tricky one, but for me, I think I would leave Dubravka in for now. I think if the defence is set right, as Stu said, if we're compact at the back, I don't necessarily know we need to take the risk. Again, the lads have said we don't necessarily have to win the game. So do we risk Pope, with a game? I wouldn't personally. I would leave Dubravka in for now.
All right. Stu, what would you do?
I'm with Martin. I'd leave him in. Why change it? Yes, Pope is a better keeper, but imagine he's going to have a bit of rustiness and one error and he's just going to get piled on. Let us get this qualification out the way, and if we're going to play him on Sunday, or just allow him to recover fully, so there's no or less chance of any injury going into next season. Dubravka started a bit dodgy for us. Yes, he has his faults, but at the same time, changing the back four that are used to playing with him now is a risk. It's one position that you've got to be very, very careful about changing. So I'll agree with Martin. I think we should keep Dubravka in.
I think key to that, lads, is bringing Trippier back. I think if you leave Dubravka in, I'd bring Trippier back just to marshal that defence. I think just that bit of experience. Dan Burn does a good job.
Pace down there, we can go Martin.
Yeah, possibly with Garnacho. Yeah, absolutely. Livramento's got that pace, so yeah. Look, it's a risk, but you know,
Okay.
do you maybe switch out Hall and play him on the other side, Stu?
It's a good point. Al-Walid, would you bring Nick Pope in tonight?
Yeah, why the rush with making Bob return? We're still, it's just two games, and I think we have both. All of us have both trust in Bob and Dubravka. So I am with continue with Dubravka because it's much more safer. No rush.
Okay, no rush, Magnus. Are the lads right?
Pardon?
Would you play Dubravka or would you play Pope tonight?
No, I agree with the lads. I think if it's a risk, then this could cost. If he came in and then they got injured again, that might cost him even being the second on. I know he's not even for sure going to be on the national team, but is that something that might attract him to get a couple of games in before the Euros and have a slight possibility? No, I wouldn't risk it. I would do Dubravka, and then soon we're going to have to be looking at other goalkeepers. We got Karius is leaving, and I have a certain Icelander that I want to tell you about soon, but I'll bring that up. I'll bring that up a little bit closer to the England-Iceland game at Wembley next month.
Okay, looking forward to that, mate. Kev, would you drop Dubravka and bring Pope in tonight?
If it was a month earlier, yes, I would. But since we've only got 2 games to go, I would keep it as it is and keep a settled back 4 or 5. That's just generally how Eddie Howe goes anyway with trust. I think he's developed some form of a relationship with the players that are in front of him. Now, yes, you can do all the practices in the world and tactical play and stuff, but he still develops those relationships in games. Pope still has that relationship with them, but that back four's changed quite significantly since he's been out. So I would keep Martin Dubravka in. Yes, agree with Stu that in most lads that he's not the best goalkeeper in the world, but he's a good goalkeeper. Nick Pope's the number 1, but again, I would still obviously have him on the bench. If anything goes horrifically wrong, then we've got a very good replacement that could step in to pick up the pieces essentially. So yeah, I'll keep Martin Dubravka in.
Okay, what about you, Steve?
Carry on with the panel. Yeah, keep Dubravka in. I think just listening to Eddie Howe's words earlier in the week when he talked about Nick Pope, talked about how good it was to have him back around the squad, back around the team in terms of a match day. But he did kind of rein that a little bit back in terms of whether or not he would play by saying some key words. Nice to have him in, but he's had a bad injury, etc., etc. And I think that was the caveat that Dubravka stays in for now.
Okay, Mitch, I haven't changed my mind. I would leave Dubravka in. I've got to be honest. You're on mute, Mitch.
Don't see a point in upsetting the status quo at this stage. However, I am of the opinion if you've got a clear number 1 goalkeeper and he is fit, he should come back into the team. It's as simple as that. But I think where we're at in the season, it's not clear how fit Pope is. I think Eddie Howe's being economical with the level of fitness that he has. I think it's clear he could come in if needed. That seems to be the direction he's going with the language he uses. So there's no point in rushing him in if there's any risk. Euros or no Euros, I'm sure Southgate's seen enough of him to know what he would bring to an England squad. Not that ever matters when he picks a bloody squad, but that's another matter.
George?
No, I wouldn't. I'm like Kevin. A month ago, yes, I would have said yes, but not now. It's too near the end. Let's get the end of the season out of the way and fit Nick Pope raring to go next year to do what he does so quite very well. So yeah, leave it as it is. I wouldn't. And as regards marshalling things, I couldn't help but notice that while Dan Burns being at centre back, he never lets Dubravka get away with anything. He keeps him on his toes all the time, and let him keep doing it. I would just leave it as it is.
Okay, we are halfway through the show. We will be back after the ad break. If you're watching on Twitter tonight, please jump over onto YouTube and give us a sub if you can. We're live on Twitter and on YouTube tonight. A little sub for free would do us a big favour. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. And don't forget the end of season due. Tickets are a tenner from nufcmatters.com or newcastlelegends.com. Superman and Gibbo and George and the Long Sands on stage in aid of Dementia Matters. It's going to be a cracker night, that 20th of July. And the Robley event is selling okay now. Friday the 2nd of August. You can get your tickets on voucher or live from the City Hall at ticketmaster.co.uk. And don't forget, we're coming up to the end of the season. The North East Footy Brekkie is running until the back end of next week. So a week on Friday, you can catch me, Rye and Ted live on the Toon Radio weekdays, 7 till 9 a.m. on DAB smart speakers and the toonuk.com. Newcastle United then travelled to Old Trafford. We're about an hour and a half away from the teams coming out. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. It is live on Sky Sports. And following the 1-0 win at St James's Park in the first Premier League meeting, Eddie Howe's side have got the chance to wrap up their first Premier League double against Manchester United. The last time Newcastle defeated them home and away in the league was back in 1930-31. And if we're to avoid defeat tonight, that will confirm us finishing above them for the first time ever in the Premier League. The last time we finished above them was 76-77 when we finished 5th and they finished 6th, respectively. And since Edison Cavani's 71st minute leveller at St James's Park back in 2021, Manchester United have failed to find the net in the Premier League against us for 289 minutes. It's the 10th time that the two clubs have met 3 times in the same season, and Newcastle have never kept a 100% record intact in the previous 9. The team news that we do know is that Joe Willock, Lewis Miley, Matt Targett, Sandro Tonali, Sven Botman and Jamal Lascelles won't play again this season. It is expected that Alexander Isak will retain his place in the starting lineup. The information that we got off Eddie Howe about Callum Wilson tended to suggest that he might be back for the Brentford game rather than tonight. But you kind of kid a kidder. You never know with Eddie Howe, that's for certain. And Fabian Schär, well, he could be involved. Kieran Trippier, as we know, was involved against Brighton at the end. So he will be available, one would have thought. As we've already discussed on the show, Eddie Howe has got a decision to make whether to field Martin Dubravka against his former club or recall fit again Nick Pope for the first time since his injury. So big news there if that does take place at 7 o'clock. As for Manchester United, well, there's no Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Rafael Varane, Victor Lindelof, Anthony Martial or Tyrell Malaysia. They're all unavailable. But the news was a little bit more unclear on Lisandro Martinez, Mason Mount and Marcus Rashford. They were all possible returns. And Bruno Fernandes, who knows? He's a big player for them. You would imagine if they're going to try and get one player fit, then it's going to be him. At home this season, Manchester United have won 9 times in the Premier League. They have drawn 3 and they have lost 6. Referee, got to be honest, quite happy with this referee. Robert Jones is involved tonight. The Merseysider completes a full set of appointments in this fixture, having overseen the Carabao Cup meeting and the Premier League fixture at St James's Park. He also refereed the early season 1-0 defeat of Man City, and he also took charge of the 4-3 victory over West Ham. And on VAR, it is Jared Gillette. So we're going to go around the board now and get the predictions and what the lads fancy tonight, how they think it's going to go. I'll have my say first, George. I genuinely think we're going to see goals tonight. I think this is going to be a potentially one of those Sky Classics. I think both teams will go for it. Of course, it depends on the players available, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a 3-2 or a 4-3 or a 3-3 tonight. And it would fit in with the games we've already seen this week. You know, I mean, the Liverpool Aston Villa game was a crazy game. You get crazy games at the end of the season, and I just got a feeling we might see a classic tonight. So my prediction tonight, I'm going to go with a Newcastle win and a Brighton and Chelsea draw. That's what I'm going to go for tonight. So I'm going to go 3-2 Newcastle. In fact, I'm going to go 3-2 Newcastle, and I'm going to go a Brighton and Chelsea draw. That's what I'm going to go for, George. I've hung me result up there. What about you? What do you see? What do you see on both of these games tonight?
Well, I see us winning, but I see us winning 1-0 in a scruffy game. I don't see a classic at all because of the way the Manchester United are playing at the moment. If all the so-called stars and so were all fit and raring to go, the rumour from that dressing room is that some of them aren't even raring to go when they're on the pitch. Never mind not on it. It's an unhappy dressing room, and I don't think that makes for good games, in my opinion. So it's 1-0 for me, and a bit scruffy, but a one that will take quite nicely at the end of the day.
And what about the Brighton-Chelsea game?
Oh, sorry, 0-0. If Brighton are in the sort of form they were against us, they'll stifle Chelsea because Chelsea's young ones won't know how to get out of that. So 0-0 with that one.
Okay. What are you expecting tonight then, Mitch?
I think an open game. I think I'm sort of like you. I think we'll see two teams prepared to go for it. And I think it's whoever has the most desire and whoever's brave enough will come out on top.
All right. Have you got the dice today?
I have got the dice. And the dice says 1-2, which I would merrily take. And then the dice also says, oh shit!
He's going for a different game with the dice. Controversial.
Different game with the dice, and the dice says 2-1, so that would be Brighton 2, Chelsea 1. That would be a rather lovely set of results, would it not?
If only the dice was right every week. What you think there's going to be a few goals? What's your prediction, Mitch?
3-2 to us.
Oh, you're going 3-2 as well. Okay, Steve. Are you going for a classic, or are you going for a?
No, I think it should be an open game, Steve. I think Manchester United didn't do that badly on Sunday against Arsenal. They caused them a few problems. I think there's a lot made of this whole sort of persona about injuries. I was just looking at some of the facts there, and Manchester United have had 6 players in their squad that have played over 25 games this season. We've only got 7 players who have managed to play 25 games this season as well. So that in terms of the injury crisis, there's an awful lot being made by Ten Hag and very little being made by Eddie Howe, and I think that sums up both clubs. One is in crisis mode, one is in panic mode, and the other is just going about his business the way he has all season. And I think that's reflected in the mindset of both clubs, both teams, and what's going on off the field as well. With both clubs, we've been calm, we've been collected, and I think Manchester United have been either gung ho or scattergun. And I think it just makes for a very, very interesting game. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Newcastle, and I think that Chelsea, because Chelsea score goals, there's no question, they're just crap at the back, and I can see a 2-2 draw down at Brighton.
Okay. Kev, what about you, mate?
I agree with you. I think it could be one of those Sky Sports classics. Both teams going for it. I think we'll probably want it a little bit more, just from a historical perspective. I think that's going to be drummed into them. And I think we've got better quality on the pitch, as is what we expect the lineups to be. So I'm going to go one better than Mitch. I'm going to go 4-2 victory for Newcastle United tonight. And then the Brighton game, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to think it's going to be a scruffy one. I think Brighton will do everything in their power, because there's a bit of angst between them because they nick all the stuff Chelsea do from Brighton. So
yeah, that's a good talking point, that, isn't it? Yeah,
right. I think that was from the professionals as well, by the way. So props to them. Yeah, it was. So I think I'll say a scruffy 1-0 to Brighton tonight. I think they'll just dig in, kick the snot out of Chelsea, be very difficult to play against. Pretty much what they've done against us. In that sense, so I think it'll be 4-2 for us and a 1-0 for Brighton, which will be a very, very good night once I get out of coaching.
There's a question for you, Kev, actually, from Kevin Smith. So I'll ask you it now. It says, question to Kev, what's the perspective on Newcastle United stateside in general?
It's I don't really know. Obviously, the area I live in is a relatively big market, so there's obviously other sports to compete with, and we've got the big 6 that they'll just jump on the bandwagon with across, again, this vast country of ours, what I live in. But it's growing, it's getting there, but every time it's coming across, you're Saudi owners, you're the richest club in the world, all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. No, we're not. We've just got the richest owners in the world. So I'm trying to temper those comments directed towards me, but again, I'll promote it as long as where the sun don't shine. I will promote this club as, forever and a day until the day I die. I'm trying to get people invested in it, trying to get them to watch our games in terms of the way we play and all that sort of stuff, just to learn from the way Eddie Howe's teams play, because that's how I want to play. It's expansive, it's attacking, it's front foot. So again, it's a growing thing, and again, up in New York, there's massive numbers up there. Just based on market size, based on population size, there's a bigger contingent who are following from that part of the world. Across in San Diego, California, part of the world, there's a big contingent there. Here in Atlanta is not the best, but we're growing. The perception is, this is a club on the up. There's a feel-good factor about it, but then you temper it well. It's not always the good side. You've got to go through thick and thin through this club. It's a love-hate relationship. You love it, then you hate it. It's one of them. But yeah, it's positive. And again, I'll fight for every another Newcastle United fan that I can to turn them from the dark side, whichever side that is, into a Newcastle United fan. So it's a positive thing. Which is good.
Okay, and Stephen's asking, is there anywhere that he can watch the match in Augusta? I guess there must be like a...
I don't call it Augusta. I call it Disgusta. So what you see on TV for the Masters, it's not exactly looking like that from the outside. Just being honest, I'm not too sure. But if you get in contact with Toon Army Atlanta on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, I'm sure there might be stuff around. There might be some places in South Carolina just across the state line where you might there might be some groups in that part of the world. I'm not sure. Yeah, so just reach out to one of the lads at Tyne Army Atlanta, then they might be able to help you out. And if not, just drive from Augusta down into Atlanta, which is not too far, and get to the brew house on a Saturday or a Sunday and have a good bit of crack with a few lads.
Good stuff. Okay, Magnus, the game tonight then. Give us your honest opinion, your views. How do you see the game going tonight?
Yeah, well, I kind of follow Manchester a little bit on the side because of my son. So I've been seeing them in free falling. They're anything but united. I mean, this description of them doesn't suit them. They should be man separated or man individuals. I feel like we're gonna beat them convincingly. I had some of the numbers that you guys have already said. I had 3-2 in mind. I had 4-2 in mind. So I'm gonna shake it up a little bit and say 5-3 because I really feel like their defense is awful, and at the same time as we're getting our weapons back, I'm feeling optimistic. They're anything but united at the minute, and I've found that the togetherness and the willing to succeed is more on our side. Even the ratings normally don't go in our favor away from home, and especially this season. Even the ratings that I'm seeing are in our favor. So I'm gonna say it 5-3 to us. With regards to the other game, that's pretty important to us too. Brighton, Chelsea. I think that might be another exciting game of 2-2 is my prediction there. This is also maybe got a little bit to do with my fantasy team. I have Cole Palmer there and a couple of lads in the defense of Brighton. But as far as I know, with Casemiro and Evans at defense, I think I agree with you, lads. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I'm going out to see the lads at the place with a fan club over here. I'm planning to go and see them, and we kind of share a bar with Man United, and whenever it's the 20 of us, there's going to be the 50 of them. So all we've got is to be louder than them. And yeah, I know I've had a little bit of complaints on here. We can totally be louder than them, and we sure will. We sure will when we win them.
You're loud tonight, Magnus. There's nothing wrong with that. No complaints tonight yet, mate. No, I think people sit a bit further away from the television when you're on. That's all.
Loud and proud.
Breaking news brought to us by Martin. Actually, Martin, I'll come back to you, Albally. Martin, I've stuck this up there because you've just stuck this in the private chat. But where's this come from, Martin?
David Ornstein has literally just broke that on Twitter. So Premier League clubs have agreed at the next AGM they will vote to whether they want to abolish VAR from the start of next season. So it's breaking all across Twitter there now. So David Ornstein, there's a couple of others now jumping off the back of it. But yeah, it's literally doing the rounds there very, very quickly around Twitter. So yeah, it looks like there is going to be a vote as to whether VAR continues. Although somebody, I'm trying to find it now, said it's not VAR you want to abolish, it's actually the referees. So you probably have a point there as well, to be fair.
Well,
yeah, it looks like
I'm having a cigar.
Isn't it typical Premier League? Get rid of it rather than put it right. Go and learn off the rugby and the cricket. Put it right, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can add something to that,
didn't they vote it out in Sweden last week or the week before?
Yes. They did. Yeah.
They were following a trend.
Yeah. So there's a few there now. Alex Crook and a couple of others are breaking it there now. So yeah, looks like it's definitely going to happen. Definitely a vote anyway.
All right.
Yeah, if I can add something to that, I think the human decisions before VAR came in were about 95% correct. I think it's done damage to football, and just to make it quick, I've always been against it, and I want to get rid of it. Scrap it. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, the bad referees are used it as a crutch. They're frightened to make a decision because they get wrong off VAR. And it's making bad referees even worse.
Okay, Al-Walid, Manchester United tonight. Give us your feelings on the game and give us your prediction at the end of it.
We'll see if it's a hard question. Can I let my daughter answer?
Hello there.
Hey.
Say hi. Say hello. Who will win? Newcastle or Manchester? Newcastle? She want to wear the
Nice
shoes.
t-shirt.
يلا قولي باي باي.
Okay.
قولي the lads.
Bye.
Bye.
قولي the lads.
Brilliant.
Beautiful girl.
Yeah, my little girl name Hayat, which means life.
Does she have a prediction, Al Walid?
Huh?
Does she have a prediction?
Well, she wants her shoes to go out. So, well, I expect really, I understand what Steve says, that expecting too much goals, but I think the tension between the two teams this season, especially with the latest news, so I expect both teams didn't want to lose, so I go with a draw.
Okay, you're going for a draw tonight then. All right, Martin. What about you, mate?
Yeah, no, confident. I'll stick with the 2-1. I said. I think we'll have enough to see them to the sword, and come away with a victory, which will be the fourth in a row, which would be nice, and finish above them. The Brighton Chelsea game, I think Brighton win at 1-0.
Okay.
I think they'll do. I think they're good at home, and I think they'll do what they did to us, and they've enough to score. They're good in the air, and I think Chelsea can't defend. They've got good attacking, but they can't defend. So I think Brighton will sneak it.
Fantastic. All right, Stu, what about you? You've got Magnus's son there now. Good evening, Magnus's son.
Yeah, he is actually. This is the Man United fan. He's wearing a Messi shirt. He wants to say hello to you guys.
In the bin.
His forecast is, what's your forecast?
He's deaf, isn't he?
2-1, he says.
2-1.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. You know, he's a left-footed midfielder. I'm training him to become hopefully a good player in the future. Both my sons are left-footed players, so I've told them to stick with it because only 10% of mankind is left-footed and handed. So, you know, just stick with it. You might have a better chance.
He's already better than Anthony, is he?
I think so. I would assume so. And continuing like this, I must just say, here in Iceland, we have trained professionals training players all the way down to 4 years old. There's not just parents trying to do it from YouTube, and I'm really impressed. And this is the reason why Iceland have actually put themselves on the map in the recent years. And all the indoor arenas as well have done wonders for us. But sorry to go off the topic a little bit.
No trouble, mate. No trouble. Good to see the kids enjoying the show. Stu, then.
Yeah.
Over to you, Stu. What's your feelings about the two games tonight?
Couple of things I want to cover about it. That I think was Mr. Hasey mentioned earlier about the outpour of the press defending Man United and how their injury is. We've mentioned previously, only in the most recent weeks, our back five, if you include the goalkeeper, is not the same back five as we had all last season, all barring Dan Burn, who is playing not the same position he was last season, but that's not mentioned. So where's the stability there? Also, for all the bluster that the Sky Sports, etc., come out with, the people who you should be listening to are the bookmakers. They've got Newcastle as favourites tonight. So when was the last time we went to Old Trafford as favourites? So that's the ones I'm looking at. And then a bit sentimentality, you know, but if we can cast the mind back when I was sitting with Mr. Hasty on Boxing Day, and then...
What time of the day was that, Stewie, if you want to stay
it was a hell of a long day in the office, as we say, as you wobbled out the door. But we watched Chris Wood get a hat-trick, and then we've conceded 4 goals at home to Luton. Who would have thought to be in this position now? You know, and you've got to see... I can say I'm very proud of what the collectiveness of the team and the players, the manager, the coaches, everyone together, the way they've pulled to get to us in this position. So no matter what happens in the next 2 games, we're in a far better position than a lot of us thought we would have been in those dark days in the winter. So the resilience they've shown, I think, is fantastic. And in the face of an injury list I've never seen the likes of before, supporting Newcastle. So tonight, I think they can make all those efforts come to fruition. I think it could be a bit like basketball in the second half. But as I alluded to earlier, they're going to have to come at us, and that's going to play in our hands. So 3-1 us, 4-1 us, take your pick, but we'll win tonight. And to counteract that, I also think Chelsea will win 3-1 tonight as well. Let's keep ourselves honest for the last game of the season to finish sixth.
You know what, Stu? Can I just interject? The other thing is that this season could have petered out for us, but it didn't. This squad has carried on. This squad has carried on fighting, and we're now 2 games from the end of the season, and they're still in there, despite everything that's been thrown at them, on and off the pitch. You know, injuries and the way that we performed in Europe, and the way that everybody slagged us off, in the group of death. And I think it's praise has to go to the way that Eddie Howe and that squad have literally stuck to that task continuously since last August until now. We can only praise them enough, and we're now going into what could be the last game of the season, still fighting for a European place. That is remarkable.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Great as always from Geordies here, Geordies there. Thanks to everybody in the chat. If you've been watching on Twitter, please jump over to nufc matters and subscribe to the channel. I'm back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, with Super Matt and Gibbo. Let's keep our fingers crossed we'll get the result tonight. Thanks to Stu, Martin, our lead, Magnus, Kevin, Steve, Mitch, and George. And thanks to you for watching. Take care. See you tomorrow.
All the best,
everybody.
See you, bye.
Everybody.